Chapter 51 Amusing Children. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After another 2 days, everyone returned to Taishian Sword Academy. As soon as he returned to Taishian Sword Academy, Qiu Lingfeng contacted Zi Shaoling, junior brother, what do you want from me? Senior sister, I have more than 30 skylark eggs here right now. Can you help me get rid of them? Qiu Lingfeng explained his purpose. It's easy to say, but shouldn't this kind of thing be handed over directly to the mission hall? Zi Shaoling replied. The disciples from the inner courtyard who formed the team with me were too shady. Of the 30 points, I only got points in the end. In the end, the senior sister who led the team wanted to win over me, so she gave me the points. 30,000 points. Qiu Lingfeng replied, it's no wonder that Qiu Lingfeng thinks Ma Lingshu and others are evil, because Qiu Lingfeng's strength is obviously not proportional to the reward he can get. Qiu Lingfeng's fighting power was not inferior to that of Ma Lingshu and others, and he even handed over the most eggs. In the end, he just drank soup. Who can accept this? Of course, Qiu Lingfeng also had a hand. The 10 eggs he handed over were all useless eggs, and the remaining 32 bird eggs in his personal space can basically hatch into skylarks. So that's it. Junior brother, you don't know something. Tasks that require the intervention of inner court disciples are basically allocated according to this method. Zi Shaoling explained. Because generally speaking, Tongmai realm disciples are just soybeans and don't need to put in much effort at all. But junior brother Lingfeng, it's different. Your combat power should now be comparable to that of a warrior in the first realm of Daoling. Is it a battle? Yes. Qiu Lingfeng thought for a while and replied calmly without covering up. Junior brother, you are indeed a freak. You go to the entrance of the inner courtyard and wait for me. I will go find you later. Zi Shaoling said. After seeing this news, Qiu Lingfeng rushed to the entrance of the inner courtyard. When he came to the entrance of the inner courtyard, he saw Zi Shaoling already waiting there. I'm sorry, senior sister, for keeping you waiting. Qiu Lingfeng ran over and said a little embarrassed. It's okay, I just arrived. Zi Shaoling looked at Qiu Lingfeng with joy on her face. She became more and more fond of this junior fellow student who had just entered school this year. There is no way, who wants Qiu Lingfeng's talent to be so eye-catching? Supernatural talent. This is something that only top geniuses can awaken directly. And Qiu Lingfeng did not disappoint her. His performance so far has been amazing. There are 32 skylark eggs in this backpack. By the way, senior sister, as long as these eggs are hatched properly, they can all hatch into skylarks. Can you sell them more points? Qiu Lingfeng handed the backpack behind him to Zi Shaoling and asked at the same time. Really? If that's the case, I'm sure I can sell 1 points. Zi Shaoling said with some surprise. Generally speaking, the hatching rate of eggs collected from the mission hall is not high. In addition to unfertilized eggs, bumps along the way may shake the yolks of bird eggs, causing stillbirth during hatching. Moreover, some eggs are already in the middle or late stages of incubation. Due to the loss of temperature on the road, the incubating eggs will also fail to hatch. Senior sister Shaoling, how could I lie to you? You are so good to me, I won't lie to anyone if I lie to you. Qiu Lingfeng nodded solemnly. Okay, I know you won't lie to me. Zi Shaoling nodded happily. By the way, senior sister Shaoling, after you sell these eggs, can you help me buy a pair of fairy cream? All the extra points will be given to you. Qiu Lingfeng rubbed his hands and said uneasily. Xianyan cream. Junior brother, do you want to give it to a girl? When Zi Shaoling heard this, she frowned and asked. Well, she is the daughter of the family that adopted me. She was disfigured by a monster during her graduation patrol the year before last. Qiu Lingfeng didn't hide anything and said frankly. Oh, so that's it. Then I'll help you with this. But with so many eggs, it will take me a while even if I want to take action. It might be a bit slow. Zi Shaoling nodded and said. If you are in a hurry, can I help you first and buy a pair of fairy cream? If you don't mind, senior sister, then I'll trouble you. Qiu Lingfeng was excited and nodded. At this moment, he didn't know that he had accurately stepped on the thunder. Oh, is that girl important to you, junior brother? Zi Shaoling nodded and said thoughtfully. Well, she's like family to me. Qiu Lingfeng recalled Zhang Ye's clear eyes, and his heart suddenly warmed up. The corners of his mouth also raised involuntarily, and he nodded. Then you come here and wait for me tomorrow afternoon, and I will give you the fairy cream. Zi Shaoling said. By the way, junior brother, even if you get the immortal cream, you won't be able to return to the village for a while. Senior sister, after I select my disciples, I am ready to break through to the Taoist realm. Qiu Lingfeng said. Ah. So fast. But it hasn't been long since you entered the 8th level of Tongmai realm. The number of Tao seeds is related to your future practice. You must not be too hasty. Zi Shaoling said in surprise. Don't worry, senior sister, I remember everything you said. Qiu Lingfeng deliberately let it slip and said with a smile, if he confesses to Zi Shaoling now, he will soon be able to condense the 8 lines of Taoism. I don't know what kind of expression the latter will show. Well, that's good. You must never break through casually. Otherwise, senior sister, I will never pay attention to you again. Zi Shaoling warned very seriously, her small face full of seriousness. For you, you must at least condense one of the 6 lines. No, the 7 lines of Taoism, Zi Shaoling said. 7 marked Tao seed. Senior sister, you look down on me too much, right? I have to condense a 9 marked Tao seed, right? Qiu Lingfeng joked. Bah! Do you think the 7-line Dao seed is so easy to condense? Do you still look down on you? Do you know that even my father was only in the Dao spirit realm of the 5-line Dao seed? Currently, there are only 5 geniuses with the 7 marks Dao seed in the entire Jinlan city, and they are all from our generation. There is not even one 8-marked Taoist seed in the entire Jinlan city. Do you now know how difficult it is to condense it? Zi Shaoling snorted, raised her head and said proudly. It seems that I will become the only genius in Jinlan city who has gathered more than 8 grains of Taoism, Qiu Lingfeng thought to himself. Sister, let me guess. You should be able to condense the 5 lines of Taoism now, right? Zi Shaoling held up her jade-white chin with her little hand, looked at Qiu Lingfeng up and down, and gave Qiu Lingfeng a high-ranking evaluation. Hiss, senior sister Shaoling is really sharp and fiery. I originally wanted to hide it from you, senior sister, but I didn't expect you to see it. Senior sister, you are simply too powerful. Qiu Lingfeng pretended to be surprised and said, although he calls Zi Shaoling his senior sister, Zi Shaoling's age is 2 years younger than him, so, Qiu Lingfeng amused the child naturally. Chapter 52 The Most Beautiful Girl in the Universe. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ha ha ha. Your senior sister, I am actually very powerful. You can't hide anything from me. Zi Shaoling was so happy to be praised by Qiu Lingfeng, she suddenly became proud, raised her little head and said loudly. Yes, yes, as the most beautiful girl in the universe, senior sister is certainly very powerful. Qiu Lingfeng continued to tease the senior sister, wanting to laugh but not daring to laugh. Ha! The most beautiful girl in the universe, but when Zi Shaoling heard this, her eyes lit up, she turned to look at Qiu Lingfeng curiously and continued. Junior brother, what does this word mean? Qiu Lingfeng was stunned for a moment. Although this world where spiritual energy was revived also had technology, but at Zi Shaoling's age, she is still a young girl who has been practicing. I'm afraid I really don't know what the most beautiful girl in the universe means. To put it simply and bluntly, she is the most beautiful girl in the world. Qiu Lingfeng thought for a while and explained. What? Hearing this, Zi Shaoling's face turned red. Really? Really? Junior brother, do you really think so? Zi Shaoling asked anxiously. Of course. Qiu Lingfeng nodded and said. The most beautiful girl in the universe, the most beautiful girl in the universe, he, this will be my nickname from now on. Zi Shaoling repeated it twice, and then shouted excitedly, then, Qiu Lingfeng saw Zi Shaoling tinkering with her communication watch. I also vaguely saw a prompt box asking whether to pay 10 disciple points. Beep beep. Qiu Lingfeng's communication watch sounded a notification sound. When he raised his hand and looked at it, the corner of his mouth couldn't help but twitch, because at this moment, there is only one new message on his communication watch: the most beautiful girl in the universe, junior brother Lingfeng. Can Zi Shaoling change the nickname of the communication watch? Is this the rich man? Sure enough, you can do whatever you want. Junior brother Lingfeng, have you seen it? Zi Shaoling looked up at Qiu Lingfeng and asked. I've already seen it. By the way, senior sister Shaoling, is it worth it for you to spend, disciple points just to change your name? Qiu Lingfeng suddenly felt that he had lost his temper and asked. It's okay. My communication watch is bound to my dad's account, and all points deducted will go to his account. Zi Shaoling waved her hand and said nonchalantly. Hiss. Qiu Lingfeng gasped. It seemed like he was really in trouble. Excuse me, is it too late for him to resist the train and escape overnight? Okay, let's not talk anymore. Junior brother, I will go back to the inner courtyard to help you deal with these eggs. Zi Shaoling was obviously in a very good mood and waved happily towards Qiu Lingfeng. Still humming a song, he walked briskly back to the inner courtyard. I hope senior sister is okay. Qiu Lingfeng crossed his hands on his chest and prayed silently. 100,000 disciple points just to change his name. There is no such thing as a prodigal. If Zi Rulong knew this, it would be him who changed Zi Shaoling's name. Qiu Lingfeng might not be able to hang out in the outer courtyard anymore. When he thought of this, Qiu Lingfeng felt a little uneasy and trotted away from here. After running all the way back to the dormitory, Qiu Lingfeng saw Ye Yucheng lying on the bed. Like a corpse. Lao Yi, why are you sleeping on the bed? Why are you and I talking to Xiao Yener if you don't want to be with you? Qiu Lingfeng said curiously. What Qiao? Qiu, you are back from your mission. Ye Yucheng raised his head and said with an annoyed look. Stop talking, Xiao Yener is too clingy and annoying. I finally calmed down now, so don't disturb me. Beep beep. Beep beep. D. On the table under Ye Yucheng's bed, there is Ye Yucheng's communication watch. At this time, the communication watch kept playing the message. Without exception, they all belonged to Xiao Yener. Lao Yi, why don't you reply to her message? Your watch keeps beeping. Qiu Lingfeng looked at Ye Yucheng's communication watch and said. I don't want it. It's so annoying. I can't beat her anymore. If I had known, I wouldn't sleep with her. Ye Yucheng turned his head and said. If you don't reply, I will reply to her for you, Qiu Lingfeng said with a sigh. Ignore this matter, it's annoying. Ye Yucheng waved his hand and said. She'll give up when she reacts. Okay, I can't control you. Qiu Lingfeng shrugged, sighed, and simply went to the balcony to breathe fresh air. Beep beep. At this time, Qiu Lingfeng's communication watch sounded. Qiu Lingfeng raised his hand and glanced at it. It was a message from Zhang Xiaonan. Ling Feng, have you returned to Taishan Sword Academy now? If you are in the Sword Academy, can you help me contact Ye Yucheng? Yener can't contact him and is crying miserably in the dormitory now. Ye Yucheng doesn't need to say anything, just reply to Yener. After reading Zhang Xiaonan's news, Qiu Lingfeng shook his head. Isn't this Xiao Yener the female version of a dog licker? The disadvantage of love is that it is so humble. I mistakenly thought I had found true love, but the other person just wanted to have fun. But Qiu Lingfeng couldn't stand it anymore, walked into the dormitory and came to Ye Yucheng's bed. Boom. Qiu Lingfeng slapped Ye Yucheng's bedside hard twice, making 2 loud noises. What do you want to do? Ye Yucheng frowned and said. Old Yi, I'm not telling you. If you really don't like Xiao Yener, tell her directly. What do you mean by leaving her alone now? Do you think this is fun? Qiu Lingfeng said. I'm too lazy to talk to her. It's so uncomfortable to be her first love. She wants to cling to me 24 hours a day. Who can bear it? Ye Yucheng turned around and said. Then don't sleep with her in the first place. Now you're really happy farting here, Qiu Lingfeng said. Silly bai, you'd better stop talking before I'm completely gone. Ye Yucheng glanced at Qiu Lingfeng and cursed. You are such a scumbag, do you still have any sense? Qiu Lingfeng frowned and said. Ye Yucheng simply ignored Qiu Lingfeng, buried his head in the quilt and ignored him. Beep beep. Qiu Lingfeng's communication watch beeped again. He raised his hand and saw that Zhang Xiaonan had sent him a message again. Ling Feng, it's not good, Yenner is about to commit suicide and is already on the rooftop now. That when Qiu Lingfeng learned the news, he couldn't help but cursed, bang bang bang. Qiu Lingfeng raised his foot and kicked Ye Yucheng hard on the bed. My ma coins. Do you really think I won't be angry? Ye Yucheng yelled angrily. Who doesn't know how to swear? Who doesn't know how to shout? Xiao Yenner is on the rooftop of the dormitory next door, committing suicide. Are you still lying on the bed pretending to be dead? Are you still a human being? Qiu Lingfeng jumped on the bed, grabbed Ye Yucheng's collar, and yelled. Chapter 53 Ye Yucheng's Identity. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Qiu Lingfeng carried Ye Yucheng down to the dormitory building, and saw a circle of people gathering at the bottom of the building on the other side. Following everyone's line of sight, there was an unexplained figure on the edge of the rooftop, and it could be vaguely seen that it was a girl. Little man, where are you now? I'm downstairs in your dormitory. Qiu Lingfeng quickly sent a message to Zhang Xiaonan. Is Ye Yucheng coming? Zhang Xiaonan replied. I brought him here. Qiu Lingfeng said. With his strength, Ye Yucheng was carried over like a little chicken. Then hurry up and come to the rooftop. Zhang Xiaonan replied. When Qiu Lingfeng heard this, he didn't care about anything else, carrying Ye Yucheng to the rooftop. Put me down quickly and I will leave on my own, Ye Yucheng shouted. Who knows if you can run? Come up with me. Qiu Lingfeng did not agree and led Ye Yucheng to the stairs with a strong attitude. After a while, Qiu Lingfeng brought Ye Yucheng to the rooftop. At this time, in addition to Xiao Yenner who wanted to commit suicide, there were Zhang Xiaonan, 3 girls, and a female housekeeper on the rooftop. Yenner, look quickly. Ye Yucheng is here. Can you come over? Du Shui shouted after seeing Ye Yucheng being carried over by Qiu Lingfeng. Yucheng, let me ask you, have you ever liked me? Xiao Yenner looked at Ye Yucheng with red and swollen eyes and asked. No. Ye Yucheng said very calmly. You. At this time, everyone on the rooftop looked at Ye Yucheng in shock and anger. Yi Lian clenched his pink fists and looked at his cousin with an angry look. Okay, I get it. Xiao Yenner smiled sadly and nodded, then he jumped back and his body fell towards the ground. Xiao Yenner was only a 5th-level martial artist in the Tongmai realm. If she fell from the rooftop of nearly 40 meters, she would definitely die. No. Swallow. Zhang Xiaonan and Du Shui exclaimed at the same time and hurriedly ran towards the edge of the rooftop. What? She really jumped off the building. Someone catch her quickly. The crowd below let out a piercing scream, bang. Immediately afterwards, a dull collision sounded, snapped. Yi Lian raised his hand and slapped Ye Yucheng hard in the face. I really misjudged you, Ye Yucheng. Qiu Lingfeng also shouted angrily at Ye Yucheng. Then, he also ran to the edge of the rooftop to check the situation. At this time, Xiao Yenner was held up by the hands of the crowd and did not fall directly to the ground, but even so, Xiao Yenner fainted. Someone immediately carried her to the infirmary. Saved. Qiu Lingfeng breathed a sigh of relief in his heart. Not only him, but Zhang Xiaonan and Du Shui's tense nerves also relaxed slightly. After reacting, they both looked at Ye Yucheng angrily. Ye Yucheng. What did you mean just now? Do you want to kill Yenner? Du Shui shouted towards Ye Yucheng. Ye Yucheng turned around and went downstairs with an indifferent expression. You still want to leave? You murderer. Du Shui blocked Ye Yucheng's path and said. Who told her to be so stupid? Get out of my way. I'm going back to the dormitory. Ye Yucheng said. Are you still thinking about going back to the dormitory? You made Yenner jump off the building. Don't you want to see her at this time? Du Shui's face turned red with anger. It would be better if she died. Who told her to be so annoying? If she didn't cling to me so much, maybe I could endure it for a few more days. Ye Yucheng spoke coldly. Yi Lian walked over and looked at Ye Yucheng with cold eyes without saying a word. Cousin, do you want to hit me again? Ye Yucheng glanced at Yi Lian and said. Cousin, Qiu Lingfeng and others were stunned. They really didn't expect that Ye Yucheng and Yi Lian had such a relationship. Classmate, you can't leave. The housekeeper also stopped Ye Yucheng. Only disciples from the inner courtyard can serve as house stewards, so their cultivation levels are all in the Taoist realm. You dare to stop me? Ye Yucheng looked at the dormitory manager and asked. Do you know who I am? Ye Yucheng continued. I don't care who you are, but you can't leave now. The housekeeper said. I am from the Yi family, are you sure you dare to stop me? After Ye Yucheng finished speaking, he pushed the dormitory manager away and walked straight down the stairs. When Qiu Lingfeng saw this, he was about to catch Ye Yucheng back when he saw Yi Lian stopping him and said. Stop chasing. Why? Du Shui glared at Yi Lian and shouted. So you and Ye Yucheng are in the same group. Have you already disliked Yenner and wanted her dead? You asked your cousin to come over and seduce Xiao Yenner, causing her to jump off the building now. Sometimes, I have to admire a girl's imagination. How long has it been since? A complete story was made up by her, of course. This has something to do with Du Shui's inner evaluation of Yi Lian. If Du Shui had never thought of Yi Lian like this, she would not have guessed like this right away. To put it bluntly, it's still the same sentence, plastic sisterhood. I do not have. Yi Lian could only shake his head and explain palely. Okay, the most important thing now is Xiao Yenner, let's go over there quickly to see her condition. Qiu Lingfeng said. Little man, why did Xiao Yenner suddenly come to the rooftop? Qiu Lingfeng asked doubtfully. She was crying just now and suddenly ran out of the dormitory. We couldn't catch up for a while. Then she was crying and shouting on the rooftop that she wanted to see Ye Yucheng, otherwise she would jump off the building and commit suicide. Zhang Xiaonan said with a guilty look on his face, if she had run faster, this situation might not have happened. I don't know what exactly made Ye Yucheng crazy. Qiu Lingfeng cursed and took Zhang Xiaonan and 3 girls downstairs. The dormitory manager also followed him halfway. After going downstairs, at the reminder of the onlookers, they went to the infirmary together. In the infirmary, Xiao Yenner was lying on the bed with tears on her face and had already woken up. On the hospital bed next to her, there were several more students who were fixing the bones of their hands. They were probably injured when they caught Xiao Yen just now. Yenner, what on earth did you get so crazy about just now? When Du Shui saw Xiao Yenner, she ran over and hugged her and cried. Isn't it just Ye Yucheng? Why did you jump off the building for him? Do you know how worried I am about you? Xiao Yenner's voice was so choked that she couldn't speak. Yi Lian, I have some questions to ask you. Qiu Lingfeng turned to look at Yi Lian and said. Let's go out and talk. It is good. Yi Lian hesitated for a while, finally glanced at Xiao Yenner, gritted his teeth and nodded. Qiu Lingfeng took Yi Lian out of the infirmary. What do you wish to ask? Yi Lian said. Who are you and Ye Yucheng? You are not from the village at all, are you? Qiu Lingfeng said. When the dormitory manager stopped Ye Yucheng just now, Ye Yucheng said that I was from the Yi family, then pushed away the dormitory manager and left. It can be seen that the identities of Ye Yucheng and Yi Lian are not simple. Chapter 54, Future Opponent. You are listening at novelfull.audio. We are indeed not from the village. We are locals of Jinlan City. We are members of the Yi family of Jinlan City. Yi Lian nodded and said. With your status, you don't need to live in the same dormitory with us, right? Qiu Lingfeng said. Yes, although Ye Yucheng and I are only collateral members of the Yi family, we still get this special treatment. Yi Lian nodded, although Qiu Lingfeng still had many questions in his mind, he suppressed them and continued. Then do you know the reason why Ye Yucheng abandoned Xiao Yener? Originally, I wasn't too optimistic about this relationship. After all, as a member of the Yi family, I can't have feelings for people in the village in private. He should have acted like this after his parents found out about it. Yi Lian confessed, originally, she hoped that this relationship could last longer, only, the way Ye Yucheng handled this matter was really disappointing. Even though Ye Lian knew that Ye Yucheng and Xiao Yener could not last forever, he was still angry at Ye Yucheng's way of handling it. She had never thought that her cousin was so outrageous emotionally. Moreover, after this incident, it would be difficult for her to survive in the dormitory, because Du Shui was a little repulsive to her. Originally, and now her cousin almost killed Xiao Yener, it was really difficult for her to stay in the dormitory any longer. I will probably leave Taishan Sword Academy and go to Nandu Academy after today. Can you please not tell Xiaonan and the others? Yi Lian hesitated for a while and then said. Ah. Qiu Lingfeng thought for a while and nodded in agreement, although this matter seems to have nothing to do with Ye Lian, according to Du Shui's temperament, he shouldn't let it go so easily. Ye Lian's best choice is to leave. Then, Ye Lian returned to the infirmary. Zhang Xiaonan walked out and came to Qiu Lingfeng's side. How is Xiao Yener doing now? Qiu Lingfeng asked. I don't know, but it seems like I have given up. Zhang Xiaonan shook his head and said with some distress. I really didn't expect Ye Yucheng to be such a person. Luckily I thought he was pretty good before. Sure enough, only time can tell what kind of person a person is. After speaking, Zhang Xiaonan glanced at Qiu Lingfeng again. Qiu Lingfeng noticed Zhang Xiaonan's gaze and felt a little embarrassed and said. Why do you suddenly look at me? Cousin-in-law, it's better for you. Zhang Xiaonan said with emotion. Cough cough. Qiu Lingfeng choked on Zhang Xiaonan's words. What kind of cousin-in-law? He and Zhang Ye haven't even gotten close to each other yet, although he could cook rice with Zhang Yucheng the night before his patrol, but that night he held back. Qiu Lingfeng himself couldn't figure out the reason. In short, he just didn't want everything to be so hasty. That night, Zhang Ye would work up the courage to come. It was also because he was likely to die the next day, and Zhang Daimyo was trying hard to persuade him. As for Zhang Ye's inner thoughts, Qiu Lingfeng is still unclear. I'll go in and see Xiao Yener too. Qiu Lingfeng stood up and said. No, don't go in, otherwise Yener will think of that heartless man Ye Yucheng again when she sees you. Don't worry, we will definitely take good care of Yener this time and won't let her do anything stupid. Zhang Xiaonan stopped Qiu Lingfeng and said. Then what am I doing now? Qiu Lingfeng spread his hands and said, after being brought into such trouble by Xiao Yener, he didn't have much thought to go to the training room to practice. Just go back and rest first. I will contact you after Yener's condition has eased. Zhang Xiaonan thought for a while and said. Okay then. Qiu Lingfeng nodded. Just as he was about to leave, he saw Ye Lian walking out in despair. Xiao Lian, why are you out too? Zhang Xiaonan asked. It's better not to let Yener and Xiao Xue see me now, little man, go in. Ye Lian shook his head and said. Ah. Zhang Xiaonan heard this and entered the infirmary. Want to go for a walk? Ye Lian looked at Qiu Lingfeng and asked. Qiu Lingfeng could see that Ye Lian was not in a good mood now, so he nodded gently and said. Okay, but I'm not very familiar with the outer courtyard, so you have to lead the way. You are a person who only sees missions and cultivation. Of course you don't know the way. Hearing this, Ye Lian laughed softly. Huh, that's true. Qiu Lingfeng thought for a while and said with a smile, there are only two places he is most familiar with in Taishan Sword Academy, the outer courtyard disciple hall and the outer courtyard cafeteria. His life in Taishan Sword Academy was indeed boring, because he was either practicing in the training room or working in the cafeteria. Where do you want to go for a walk? Qiu Lingfeng asked. I don't know, I just want to take a walk and relax. Ye Lian shook his head. Okay. Qiu Lingfeng nodded and followed Ye Lian around the Taishan Sword Courtyard, except for Qiu Lingfeng's wandering around when he first came to the Sword Academy on the first day. the rest of the time the scenery was not enjoyed at all. After all, Qiu Lingfeng's main focus is on improving his strength. There is a saying, well, disaster or dawn, you never know which one will come sooner. Qiu Lingfeng didn't want to be without any backhand when facing a disaster. What's more, if the strength is strong enough, you can even get ahead of the disaster and catch it off guard. However, sometimes I calm down like this. It feels good to appreciate the flowers and plants. The nerves that have been tense also relaxed. I never noticed before that there is such a beautiful place in Taishan Sword Academy. Qiu Lingfeng followed Yi Lian to a small pavilion next to an artificial lake and said, "Why didn't you notice? You've obviously never been here before." Yi Lian seemed to be in a much better mood and joked towards Qiu Lingfeng. "Haha, indeed." Qiu Lingfeng laughed and nodded. Junior sister Yi. At this time, a young man walked over not far away. He looked a bit ordinary and looked about 19 years old. "Who is this?" After the young man came over, he glanced at Qiu Lingfeng with some doubts and asked Yi Lian. "His name is Qiu Lingfeng, my teammate." Yi Lian replied. "Hello, my name is Guochen." The young man stretched out a hand towards Qiu Lingfeng. "Qiu Lingfeng." Qiu Lingfeng also reached out and shook his hand gently. "I'm sorry, junior sister Yi, I've been busy preparing for the selection of disciples these past few days." Guochen said to Yi Lian. From his appearance, Qiu Lingfeng could tell that Guochen was obviously interested in Yi Lian. Of course, what Qiu Lingfeng was more concerned about was that Guochen also wanted to participate in the disciple selection. This shows that Guochen is also his future opponent. Qiu Lingfeng used an appraisal towards Guochen. Guochen, the 8th level of Tongmai realm, can condense the 3 lines of Taoism. Guochen's cultivation was instantly seen through by Qiu Lingfeng. For a 3-line Taoist, this talent is not low. Chapter 55 Obtained the Fairy Cream. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Senior brother Guo is the disciple who entered the outer courtyard last year. Qiu Lingfeng asked. That's right, junior brother. If you practice well, you can also participate in the disciple selection in the 2nd year. When Guochen talked about this, there was still a little pride on his face. After all, only a few talented disciples can participate in the disciple selection in the 1st year, because the threshold for participating in disciple selection is the 7th level of Tongmai realm. As for the freshmen coming from the village, it is even more foolish to dream of reaching the 7th level of Tongmai realm within 2 months. People like Guochen and others only participated in the disciple selection in their 2nd or 3rd year. In this way, your cultivation level will be higher and your chances of winning will be greater. Senior brother Guo, Ling Feng will also participate in this year's disciple selection. Yi Lian reminded from the side. Guochen was stunned for a moment, then looked at Qiu Lingfeng and said. Junior brother, do you want to participate in the disciple selection with a cultivation level of the 7th level of Tongmai realm? Let me tell you, your chance of successfully passing is too small and unrealistic. You should come again next year. Senior brother, don't worry, I still have this bit of self-awareness. Qiu Lingfeng said somewhat dumbfounded. He can't just say that his cultivation is higher than Guochen, right? What a blow to this senior brother who entered the outer courtyard last year. After that, Qiu Lingfeng and Yi Lian had a piece of brown sugar between them, because Guochen also wants to follow. After being messed with by Guochen, Yi Lian immediately lost the intention to hang out. Qiu Lingfeng himself didn't have much interest. After saying goodbye to Yi Lian, he went to the training room. Junior brother, there is no use in improvising. Disciple selection relies on daily accumulation, not your cultivation attitude of improvising. After learning that Qiu Lingfeng was going to the training room, Guochen said earnestly from the side. Qiu Lingfeng ignored it. Is it possible that he still needs to answer Guochen? Does he spend his daily life in the training room? Now Qiu Lingfeng's training goal is very clear, striving to make the spiritual energy rich enough to condense the 9 lines of Tao seeds. In this way, his combat effectiveness is also at the top of the Tongmai realm. What? You said that by that time, Qiu Lingfeng could just break through to the Tao spirit realm and advance directly to the inner courtyard. Why go to such trouble to participate in this disciple selection? You think he doesn't want to? who allows the disciples to be selected with ranking rewards. The opportunity to advance directly to the inner court is reserved for those warriors with poor talent who barely reach the threshold of the Tao spirit realm. The real battle between gods and gods is all about disciple selection. Disciples who are promoted directly to the inner courtyard cannot freely choose which elder to practice under. If you are not favored by any elder, you can only practice your own. The disciples selected by the disciple selection have the opportunity to freely choose to practice under the disciples of the elders, and can join the disciples of any elder. Moreover, the top 3 selected by the disciples also have the opportunity to enter the spiritual energy pagoda to practice. This is a benefit that only belongs to the inner court disciples. The spiritual energy in the spiritual energy pagoda is 30 times stronger than that in the outside world. 1 day of cultivation inside is worth a month. Ordinary inner court disciples who want to enter the spiritual chi pagoda to practice for half a day need to pay disciple points. The top 3 who enter the inner courtyard through disciple selection have the qualification to enter the spiritual energy pagoda for free. Moreover, there are additional rewards for the top 10 selected by disciples. The benefits are far greater than the direct flight to the inner courtyard. If this were not the case, Qiu Lingfeng would not bother to participate in the disciple selection, but would directly break through to the Daoling realm and advance to the inner courtyard. After withdrawing his thoughts, Qiu Lingfeng came to the training room and started boring training. Half a day passed quickly. As the spiritual energy in the training room dissipated, Qiu Lingfeng was also hungry, so he got up and went to the cafeteria. When he finished his meal and looked at the time, it was almost afternoon. Thinking of what Zi Shaoling said, Qiu Lingfeng rushed towards the entrance of the inner courtyard. Zi Shaoling said that she would wait for her at the entrance of the inner courtyard this afternoon and she would give her the fairy beauty cream to her. Regarding the fairy cream, Qiu Lingfeng did not dare to neglect it at all, because this is related to Sister Xiaoya's heartache. I am afraid that disfigurement is unacceptable to any girl. What's more, the person who was disfigured was a beautiful woman. Beep beep. As soon as Qiu Lingfeng arrived at the entrance of the inner courtyard, his communication watch buzzed. It was the message Zi Shaoling sent him. The most beautiful girl in the universe, junior brother Lingfeng, come to the entrance of the inner courtyard now, and I will give you the fairy cream. Okay, senior sister, I'll be there right away. Qiu Lingfeng thought for a while and replied, it's better not to let Zi Shaoling, who has already reached the entrance of the inner courtyard. It saves the senior sister from rushing over in a hurry and destroying the fairy cream. Then he would be heartbroken to death. As soon as he finished sending the message, he saw the figure of a girl walking in the distance. Judging from the body shape, it should be Zi Shaoling. After Zi Shaoling discovered Qiu Lingfeng, her steps were obviously much faster. When Qiu Lingfeng saw this, he immediately became anxious and shouted, "Senior sister, walk slower and be careful. Be careful, don't ruin my fairy cream." Qiu Lingfeng didn't dare to shout the last sentence, otherwise Zi Shaoling would have gone berserk on the spot. I am a dignified Taoist spirit warrior, do I still need to be careful when walking? Zi Shaoling trotted over and almost gave Qiu Lingfeng a heart attack. I didn't expect you, junior brother, to be so eager to see me, senior sister, that you even went out of your way to wait for me here. Zi Shaoling snorted and handed the fairy cream to Qiu Lingfeng. Qiu Lingfeng took it carefully and held it in his arms for fear of dropping it. Look at your baby face, isn't it just a fairy cream? Zi Shaoling frowned. She couldn't tell what she was feeling right now. In short, there was a very strange and uncomfortable feeling lingering in her heart. This is not a fairy ointment, it is also a medicine. Qiu Lingfeng smiled stupidly. Xianyan cream itself is medicine, but the price will only increase after people discover its whitening and scar-removing effects. Zi Shaoling said. Anyway, this is important to me. Qiu Lingfeng thought about it and realized that it was indeed the case, but he didn't know how to describe the joy in his heart. That's weird. Zi Shaoling sighed leisurely. What's wrong? Senior sister Shaoling, Qiu Lingfeng asked puzzledly. I don't know why, but seeing your appearance, I suddenly don't want to give you the fairy cream anymore. Zi Shaoling also said very distressedly. Ah. Is senior sister also interested in Xianyan cream? Qiu Lingfeng asked. Although I am interested, I am the most beautiful girl in the universe. This kind of thing is dispensable to me, and I don't want to steal your treasure from you, junior brother. Zi Shaoling said, but she always felt like she had said something wrong somewhere. The reason for her discomfort didn't seem to be because of the fairy cream. Chapter 56 Falcon. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After parting ways with Zi Shaoling at the entrance of the inner courtyard, Qiu Lingfeng returned to the practice room and began a long and boring practice. In just 1 week, the spiritual energy in Qiu Lingfeng's body reached the level where he could condense the 8 grains of Taoism. After that, Qiu Lingfeng suppressed the idea of breakthrough and focused on improving his strength. Qiu Lingfeng didn't leave until Zi Shaoling informed him that registration for disciple selection had begun. After coming out of seclusion, Qiu Lingfeng's aura was so rich that he could condense the 8-line Dao seed. Although he was a little far away from the 9-line Dao seed, it was not far away. His physical strength reached kilograms. According to the setting that if you break through a level of cultivation in the Tongmai realm, your strength will increase by 200 pounds, I should be considered at the 9th level of the Tongmai realm now, right? That when Qiu Lingfeng came out of seclusion, he clenched his fists and said to himself, but this is just a joke, there are only 8 stages of the Tongmai realm, after which there is the accumulation of condensed Tao seeds. If condensing Tao seeds can be regarded as a realm, then there are a total of 18 realms in Tongmai realm, from 1 to 8 sections of the Tongmai. Tao species have no lines to 9 lines, the only difference is that as long as the spiritual energy in the body can condense the Tao seed, the warrior can break through to the Tao spirit realm at any time. After leaving the training room, Qiu Lingfeng went to the disciple selection and registration office. The disciple selection and registration office is right at the entrance of the disciple hall, so Qiu Lingfeng found it easily. At this time, a long queue formed in front of the registration office. After a cursory glance, there were probably more than 100 people queuing up, and the number was still growing. Many disciples from the outer courtyard are waiting to participate in the disciple selection and enter the inner courtyard. Qiu Lingfeng quickly went to line up to sign up. After waiting in line for more than half an hour, it was finally Qiu Lingfeng's turn. The people responsible for registration are all disciples of the inner courtyard, so it can be easily seen whether the cultivation level filled in by the disciples of the outer courtyard is true. Qiu Lingfeng simply filled in the information and received a small sign with the serial number, 0210, it proves that he is the 210th participant in this disciple selection. After registering, Qiu Lingfeng was told that the disciple selection meeting would start at noon tomorrow. The specific content has been sent to Qiu Lingfeng's communication watch. After leaving the registration office, Qiu Lingfeng checked the details of the disciple selection. Disciple selection is divided into 3 parts. The first part is for the disciples to leave Jinlan City and go to the Kanglan Mountains to survive for a month. Disciples who successfully survive will be rewarded with 5,000 disciple points. The second part is a battle royal to determine the top 10. The third part is the final ranking battle. The top 10 disciples compete against each other, and the ranking is determined based on the number of wins. If the number of wins is the same, the 2 disciples with the same number of wins will decide the winner again. Surviving in the Kanglan Mountains for a month? This is indeed a challenge. Qiu Lingfeng looked at the description and was only interested in the first part. Qiu Lingfeng has been to Kanglan Mountain Range several times. I can't say that he is familiar with it, but he is not unfamiliar either. The number of monsters in the Kanglan Mountains was far more terrifying than the dark forest that Qiu Lingfeng patrolled for the first time. In other words, the Kanglan Mountains are more dangerous. Moreover, this first part does not care about life or death. In other words, some disciples will die in this first part of selection. Since he had to survive for a month, Qiu Lingfeng naturally had to be prepared. He still has more than 8 points and can purchase a lot of supplies, because there is carry-on space. Qiu Lingfeng does not need to carry only some basic belongings like others. After Qiu Lingfeng bought a lot of necessary items, he began to wait for the disciple selection to begin. Qiu Lingfeng spent points on this sweep. The biggest expense is buying elixirs and traps, the rest are some elixirs for water purification and spirit flame stones for making fire. Of course, Qiu Lingfeng also bought a lot of seasonings and a recipe book. When you go out, you can't treat your stomach badly. The next day, a group of disciples from the outer courtyard who had signed up for disciple selection arrived outside the disciple hall. There were nearly 400 people in total. After all, the disciple selection can be regarded as a battle between gods and gods, so there are only a few outer courtyard disciples participating in the disciple selection. At this time, a huge black shadow fell outside the disciple hall. Looking closely, this huge black shadow is a huge falcon. The body is more than 50 meters in size, the feathers are black and shiny, and the whole body reveals a terrifying aura. He immediately made all the disciples from the outer courtyard remain silent and did not dare to move even a little bit. Identification. Qiu Lingfeng looked at the giant falcon in front of him and used his skills to identify it out of curiosity. Falcon, a third-level elite monster. Hiss. Qiu Lingfeng couldn't help but take a breath. No wonder he felt that the falcon in front of him was so terrifying. It turns out that it is comparable to the existence of the third realm of Daoling. At this time, a girl jumped down from the falcon's head. The girl looks about 20 years old. She is wearing a black robe and a ponytail. She looks very capable, and her cultivation is even more terrifying at the fourth level of Taoism. After landing, the girl whistled lightly. 9 more falcons landed, all second-level elite monsters. My name is Mo Qiuying, and I am the leading disciple this time. The girl introduced herself and at the same time pressed her hands. All 10 falcons lowered their bodies and prostrated on the ground. Because the journey to the Kanglan Mountains will take up at least 1 day, the leaders of the inner courtyard specially selected 10 falcons to pick up and drop off all the junior brothers and sisters. Without further ado, all junior brothers and sisters, please hurry up. As Mo Qiuying finished speaking, a group of disciples from the outer courtyard jumped on the falcon's back. The falcon is much larger than the skylark. If we want to describe the difference between the two, it would be the difference between a motorcycle and a bus. Of course, the premise is that the person driving the motorcycle is not the third brother, otherwise it is possible for Fenyang to be crushed to death. Nearly 400 disciples all boarded the falcon. Junior brothers and sisters, please hold on tight. Mo Qiuying said, then jumped on top of a falcon and blew a whistle. Then, 10 falcons took to the sky, flying towards the Kanglan Mountains. The falcon is much faster than the skylark. Qiu Lingfeng only saw the scene underground and quickly retreated. Only 2 hours passed before everyone arrived at the Kanglan Mountains. 10 falcons landed at the entrance of the Kanglan Mountains, and all the disciples from the outer courtyard jumped to the ground. Junior brothers and sisters, I would like to wish you good luck. Mo Qiuying said. Remember, you must bring your number plate with you. It contains a positioning chip so that we can find you when the time comes. After finishing speaking, Mo Qiuying left here with 10 falcons, nearly 400 outer courtyard disciples. You looked at me and I looked at you, and eventually they all entered the Kanglan Mountains. Chapter 57 Future Planning. You are listening at novelfull.audio. It has to be said that the time when everyone came to the Kanglan Mountains was a little unlucky. It was almost 5 o'clock in the afternoon and the sun was going down. Therefore, the first step for everyone after entering the Kanglan Mountains is to find a place where they can safely spend the first night. Otherwise, they may become part of the population eradication plan. Some familiar disciples from the outer courtyard chose to go together. Qiu Lingfeng also joined a team that already had 4 people. The team with the largest number of people even exceeded 20. Even Qiu Lingfeng had to admire their courage. With so many people, Warcraft will definitely attack this group of people as its primary target. Qiu Lingfeng's team of 5 went deep into the Kanglan Mountains. You can just follow me. During the year I was in the outer courtyard, I took on a lot of tasks. The Kanglan Mountains are just like my home. Guochen walked at the front of the team and said, patting his chest, this small team that Qiu Lingfeng joined was formed by him. If it weren't for this reason, Qiu Lingfeng would have planned to go it alone. After all, he didn't have much social interaction in the outer courtyard. The few people he knew in the outer courtyard were all his roommates and Zhang Xiaonan's roommates. Fortunately, I met Guo Qin yesterday. Although the impression was not very good, it did not affect Qiu Lingfeng's idea of taking them. He couldn't help the other people, but he could still help the 4 of them. Guo Chen. Junior brother Qiu, let me tell you, the best decision you made in your life was to follow me, senior brother Guo. As Guo Chen spoke, he turned to Qiu Lingfeng and waved his chest. Qiu Lingfeng opened his mouth, not knowing what to say. Is it possible that he can still say that the reason why he appeared in this team was because he was afraid that Guo Chen and the others would die? The other three teammates seemed to have great trust in Ye Yucheng. Qiu Lingfeng used the appraisal to check the cultivation levels of the three people. They are all at the 8th level of Tongmai realm, but the lack of accumulation is obviously because they have just entered this realm. The Tao seeds that can be condensed do not have a high number of patterns, one has no patterns, and two have one pattern. As for the names, Qiu Lingfeng also remembered them. The two men were named Zhang Hongsheng and Wang Tao. The only female disciple in the team is named Li Minmin. After the 5 people found a clean cave, they rested here temporarily, using the spirit flame stone to raise a bonfire. Everyone ate the food in their backpacks. Taishan Sword Academy did not take away the equipment of the disciples of the outer courtyard like the survival challenge programs on Earth. After all, if you really do that, you will take away not just the equipment, but your life. The magical beasts in the Kanglan Mountains, even the most harmless-looking little rabbit, might be able to kill a tiger on Earth. Senior Brother Gua, do you have any plans for the next month? As Qiu Lingfeng spoke, he took out a bagged roast chicken from his backpack, and the others immediately cast greedy glances at him. They all glanced at the compressed dry food in their hands, and then at the large roast chicken in Qiu Lingfeng's hand. Unlike other disciples from the outer courtyard, Qiu Lingfeng does not have to worry about carrying items. Others may be scrimping and racking their brains to carve out a little space in their backpack, but Qiu Lingfeng is different. The 100 cubic meters of space he carries with him is larger than his home in his previous life, so he doesn't need to worry about this at all. To put it bluntly, Qiu Lingfeng would have no problem hiding himself in a cave for a month. Because the fresh water and food he brought with him were enough to last him for a month. Seeing the greedy looks of the others, Qiu Lingfeng was too embarrassed to eat alone, so he took out 4 roast chickens from his backpack and handed them to the others. I have a lot more here, you can eat together, Qiu Lingfeng said. Lingfeng, your backpack shouldn't be full of these things, right? Li Minmin took the roast chicken and asked curiously. How do you know? You can't treat your stomach badly when you go out. Unfortunately, I am pressed for time today, otherwise I would definitely go out hunting. Qiu Lingfeng nodded in surprise. You don't have a weapon or anything? Wang Tao asked. I brought it. Qiu Lingfeng pointed to the dagger that was always tied to his waist and said. Hiss. Looking at the dagger of up to 20 centimeters on Qiu Lingfeng's waist, Wang Tao felt his scalp numb. Take another look at the weapons and equipment they brought: bullets, firearms, crossbows, arrows, and swords. Could it be that Qiu Lingfeng was out for an outing? To make only this little preparation. Cough, it's all right. Ye Yucheng coughed lightly and said. Junior brother Qiu, senior brother has recorded your infatuation. Senior brother will protect you when the time comes. Then thank you brother. Qiu Lingfeng smiled bitterly. After that, while everyone was eating, they watched Qiu Lingfeng take out a large bottle of juice drink from his backpack and eat the roasted chicken one bite at a time. Looking at this scene, Ye Yucheng and others almost thought they were back in Jinlan City again. Ye Yucheng dared to bet that among the outer disciples in the Kanglan Mountains, there was absolutely no one as carefree as Qiu Lingfeng. However, Ye Yucheng and others had already taken Qiu Lingfeng's roast chicken, so they were embarrassed to say anything at this time. Senior brother Gua, do you have any plans for the next month? Qiu Lingfeng's mouth was full of oil as he looked at Ye Yucheng and asked. Not yet. Junior brother Qiu, do you have any good ideas? Ye Yucheng asked with the corner of his mouth twitching. Oh, tomorrow we will divide into 2 teams and go to find a place to live and a water source respectively. These 2 must be solved first. Qiu Lingfeng thought for a while and said. What's next? Ye Yucheng nodded and asked. After finding a clean water source and a place to live, we must settle down and build fortifications to prevent the invasion of monsters. Qiu Lingfeng expressed his thoughts. Everyone nodded their heads. Although Qiu Lingfeng's behavior was unreliable, what he said was feasible. Okay, then just do as you say. Ye Yucheng nodded. After everyone had eaten and drank enough, they threw the food residues far away in the cave and returned to the cave. Qiu Lingfeng placed several traps at the entrance of the cave and sprinkled them with powder to mask the smell and repel insects. Then, everyone was ready to rest. Because of the traps and medicinal powder, there is no need for anyone to stand up and keep vigil. As long as the occasional firewood is added, unlike others who simply got into sleeping bags, Qiu Lingfeng also made an extra bunk on the ground, even in this Kanglan Mountains. Don't forget 2 words, dignity, of course. Qiu Lingfeng's move also made others even more speechless. Knew it, this Qiu Lingfeng has never been to the Kanglan Mountains several times, and he looks like a novice from every angle. Why does his backpack contain all these useless things? Chapter 58 Rabbit is so cute. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The next morning, when the sun was rising, everyone simply ate something and replenished their fluids, then divided into 2 teams and started looking for water sources and places to live. Qiu Lingfeng is in a group with Wang Tao and Li Minmin. Ye Yucheng and Zhang Hongsheng are in a group. On the way, Qiu Lingfeng and others also saw the body of an outer courtyard disciple who came with them yesterday. The corpse had been chewed by monsters beyond recognition, and blood from the intestines was everywhere. Li Minmin no longer had the eyes to see. We came here together after all. We can't just watch you expose your body in the wilderness. Qiu Lingfeng sighed, buried the body, and erected a small tombstone. Aren't these monsters too scary? Li Minmin said with a disgusted look on her face. So, you need to be careful in everything in the Kanglan Mountains. Qiu Lingfeng said. When Wang Tao and Li Minmin heard this, their foreheads darkened. Just because of Qiu Lingfeng's behavior last night, they felt from the bottom of their hearts that this person was not reliable. Who is a serious person who brings so much food and drink? They all want to arm themselves with every possible use. After walking around in a circle, Qiu Lingfeng and others met other outer courtyard disciples. However, they did not show kindness to Qiu Lingfeng and others, but were full of hostility. You guys get out of here quickly, we've taken this spot. A disciple held a gun and pointed at Qiu Lingfeng and others. Let's go now. Qiu Lingfeng and others left in a hurry. Don't look at this world, the appearance rate of guns seems to be low. In fact, guns are highly respected among Tongmai realm Daoling realm warriors, but there is one disadvantage, it is too expensive. A good gun costs millions. Whether ordinary bullets can pierce the skin of Warcraft is a question, therefore, bullets must also be specially made. The higher the level of bullets, the more expensive they are. The lowest level of bullets costs 1 yuan, therefore, most of the people who use guns are children from rich families whose families own mines. As for children from poor families, let's just play with cold weapons honestly. Those people are too stingy, right? We just fell in love with the same river as them, so what can we do if we get some water? Li Minmin said dissatisfied. Because in their view, that area is already their territory. Qiu Lingfeng said. We are a threat to them. But it doesn't matter, water sources are still pretty easy to find, the only thing that's more difficult to solve is the habitat. It's not okay to live in the cave all the time. We have to move out, Qiu Lingfeng said. With that said, everyone started looking for water sources again. It was not easy to find a relatively clear river, and you could still see fish and shrimp in the river. The water here is usable, remember this location. Qiu Lingfeng knelt down, filled 2 large bottles of water, and threw a water-purifying elixir into each. Wang Tao and Li Minmin also drank 2 bottles of water and followed Qiu Lingfeng's example and threw in a water-purifying pill. Are we going back next? Li Minmin asked. Well, the water quality here is not bad. If senior brother Gua and the others don't find a suitable habitat, then we can come here tomorrow to explore it carefully. Qiu Lingfeng nodded and said, it wasn't that he didn't want to explore the surroundings now, but the sun was about to set. Once the sun goes down, he has no confidence that he can survive with Wang Tao and Li Minmin. Unlike others, Qiu Lingfeng also has the magical talent of night vision, which allows him to see clearly in the jungle at night. Therefore, for Qiu Lingfeng, the Kanglan Mountains at night are no different from the Kanglan Mountains during the day. The only troublesome thing is that the monsters at night are better at hiding themselves and making sneak attacks. They rushed back to the cave before the sun went down. At this time, Ye Yucheng, Zhang Hongsheng and others were already waiting for Qiu Lingfeng and others. We found a lake with fish and stuff in it, and there was a nice long-term place around that. Ye Yucheng said. Let's all go there together tomorrow. It is good. Qiu Lingfeng's eyes lit up, he nodded, took out the 2 bottles of water he had filled before, and said. The few water sources we found were basically occupied by people, and we finally found a small river. Junior brother Chiu, do you have anything to eat with you? We are almost out of food. Guo Chen said with some embarrassment as he rubbed his hands. It's not that there is really no food, the most important thing is the packaged roast chicken in Lu Qiu Lingfeng's backpack. How can dry compressed biscuits be as delicious as roast chicken? I have a lot more, enough is enough. Qiu Lingfeng nodded, took out several more bags, and distributed them to everyone. I have some juice here, do you want it? Qiu Lingfeng took out the juice again and asked. Bring it together. Guo Chen nodded, unknowingly. Qiu Lingfeng assimilated the four of them. Guo Chen, originally, the four of them were still very resistant to Qiu Lingfeng bringing so much food, but, in the end, they were all defeated by two words, it tastes so good. Hey, it's a pity. After eating these, I can only kill those monsters to eat. Guo Chen sighed again and said. Qiu Lingfeng bumped his backpack, and there was a ringing sound inside. I brought pots and pans, oil, salt, soy sauce, vinegar and other condiments. Qiu Lingfeng said. Hiss. Junior brother Qiu, are you here to camp? Guo Chen said with a shocked expression. But if you think about it carefully, this is not bad. In this dangerous Kanglan Mountains, only delicious food can make people relax. After eating and drinking, everyone began to rest, waiting to move the position the next day, go to the small lake discovered by Guo Chen and Zhang Hongsheng. Early the next morning, everyone started to set off. On the way, they also encountered several blind rabbit-shaped monsters, all of which were killed by Guo Chen. Qiu Lingfeng held these dead rabbit ears and looked at them curiously. These three rabbits look quite good-looking. They are earthy gray in color and have what look like three tails, but it is different from ordinary rabbits. It has a fluffy giant tail with two furball-like tails on both sides of the giant tail. Qiu Lingfeng glanced at Li Minmin again and found that she was looking at the three rabbits intently. Just when Qiu Lingfeng thought Li Minmin would say, the rabbit is so cute, how can you eat the rabbit? Li Minmin spoke, Bunny is so cute, it must be delicious, right? Lingfeng, I like spicy food, put more chili pepper. Well. Qiu Lingfeng's mouth twitched. Fortunately, his worries were unnecessary. When it was almost noon, several people finally arrived at the place Guo Chen mentioned. The scenery is not bad, the lake is sparkling and so beautiful. Following Guo Chen to the open area they had chosen, Qiu Lingfeng nodded with satisfaction. When Guo Chen and the others came over yesterday, they obviously cleaned up the place. Now a piece of ground has been cleared. How is it? Isn't it nice here? Guo Chen crossed his hands and showed off. Well, in the afternoon we will simply tidy up and make a temporary resting shed. Qiu Lingfeng said. After saying that, Qiu Lingfeng moved a few stones from nearby, set up a stove, and started cooking. Chapter 59 Woman in the Lake. You are listening at novelfull.audio. For a moment, everyone seemed to be back in Jinlan City. Eating hot meals feels like my body and mind are being healed. Junior brother Qiu, I have to say that it is indeed a very wise choice for you to bring so many kitchen utensils and seasonings. Guo Chen said with a happy face and took a sip of fish soup. If it were in the past, they might only be able to eat baked food for the next month. Food cooked in other ways is simply delusional. So I said, don't treat your stomach badly when you go out. Qiu Lingfeng nodded with deep understanding. After a while, everyone had eaten and drank enough, and then disposed of the food residues. Everyone set up traps and animal-repelling powder around the camp, and then began to rest. Because there are many things to do tomorrow, we must recharge our batteries today. At this time, the silver moon hangs high in the sky, the lake is sparkling, the mist is misty, and the scene is as beautiful as a picture scroll. Qiu Lingfeng had no intention of resting. He had long noticed that there were many magical beasts on the other side of the lake at night. Naturally, he would not let go of this opportunity to obtain the devouring point. With Guo Chen and others around during the day, Qiu Lingfeng couldn't blatantly devour the monster, because once the monster is swallowed by the system, it will become an ordinary beast. So in order not to expose this secret, Qiu Lingfeng could only choose not to swallow it. Now that Guo Chen and others have rested, he can naturally go out to hunt warcraft with confidence and boldness. Although the sky was dark at this time, Qiu Lingfeng could still clearly see the scene in the forest, and this is all due to his magical talent, night vision. With the dagger in his hand, Qiu Lingfeng walked around the lake towards the other side. Why so many rabbits? But when Qiu Lingfeng was about to reach the other side, he saw a large group of rabbits coming towards the lake. Most of these rabbits are 5th and 6th level slaves, and these rabbits are the kind that everyone is eating tonight, a 3-tailed rabbit with 2 fur balls and a giant tail behind it. Are these rabbits here to seek revenge? Qiu Lingfeng raised his eyebrows and thought doubtfully. Thinking like this, Qiu Lingfeng began to hide himself in the tree. After the group of rabbits came to the lake, they lined up neatly facing the center of the lake. This appearance seemed to be welcoming something. These rabbits seemed to be waiting for something. Qiu Lingfeng looked curiously in the direction the rabbits were facing. The surface of the lake is sparkling, with reflections of stars emerging. Then, Qiu Lingfeng's pupils shrank. I saw rippling waves in the middle of the lake. Layers of ripples spread from the center of the lake. Then a figure emerged from the center of the lake and swam towards the lake shore. As the figure approached, Qiu Lingfeng also saw clearly the appearance of the figure. It was a woman of about 20 years old, with no hair on her face, and her skin was as fair as jade. Seeing the woman's appearance, a group of 3-tailed rabbits immediately moved to an open space. Wow! There was a sound of water, and the woman walked onto the lake shore. The woman raised her head slightly, allowing Qiu Lingfeng to see her appearance clearly. An oval face with exquisite and perfect facial features is enough to make any woman feel ashamed in front of her, and it is enough to make any man obsessed and crazy. Further down, there is a perfect figure, and this delicate body was displayed in front of Qiu Lingfeng without reservation. However, he didn't have time to appreciate it all, because the scene in front of me is so weird. This woman appeared out of the lake for no apparent reason, and attracted a group of 3-tailed rabbits to worship her. Qiu Lingfeng had never mentioned this matter before. Suddenly, the woman looked in the direction of Qiu Lingfeng, then she raised the corners of her mouth slightly and walked toward Qiu Lingfeng's hiding place. She found me. Qiu Lingfeng was extremely shocked. He hurriedly cast an appraisal towards the woman. In an instant, Qiu Lingfeng felt severe pain in his head, then his vision went dark and he fainted and fell to the ground. Wake up! Junior brother Qiu, wake up! Guo Chen's voice sounded in Qiu Lingfeng's ears. Guo, senior brother Guo. Qiu Lingfeng felt a splitting headache in his head and opened his eyes with difficulty. For some reason, he still felt chilly on his body. Junior brother Qiu, you are finally awake. When Guo Chen saw Qiu Lingfeng wake up, he breathed a sigh of relief and continued. Why did you faint here? And where are your clothes? Clothing? Qiu Lingfeng looked down and his expression suddenly changed, because at this moment, all he had left was his underpants, and his clothes were actually taken off. Then, Qiu Lingfeng suddenly recalled the mysterious woman who appeared in the lake last night. What is her identity? Why do so many 3-tailed rabbits gather at the lake? And his clothes were missing, so it was obviously the mysterious woman who did it. Junior brother Qiu, what happened to you last night? Guo Chen asked. Nothing. Qiu Lingfeng frowned and shook his head. I really don't understand you. I found you missing this morning. I hurried out to look for you, but I found you sleeping here. Guo Chen said speechlessly. Ahem, thank you, senior brother. Qiu Lingfeng coughed awkwardly. Forget it, but it's not good to go back to the camp with your current appearance. After all, there is a girl like Li Minmin. You wait here now, and I will get you a set of clothes. Guo Chen shook his head and then got up and returned to the camp. Qiu Lingfeng also got up from the ground. All the traces left by the 3-tailed rabbit last night have disappeared, and even the lake surface is as sparkling and beautiful as yesterday. If his clothes hadn't been taken off, Qiu Lingfeng might really think that yesterday's scene of the 3-tailed rabbits worshipping and the girl in the lake were all his dreams. I took your clothes away. As compensation, I will give you a gift. Qiu Lingfeng suddenly discovered that there was a line of small characters made of condensed spiritual energy on the tree trunk nearby. The small characters are written crookedly and have no artistic sense at all. However, through the brushstrokes, one can vaguely tell that it was written by a woman. This small print was probably left by the mysterious woman last night. Qiu Lingfeng stretched out his hand to explore, and the small lines of spiritual energy immediately turned into pure spiritual energy and flowed into his body. This spiritual energy poured into Qiu Lingfeng's meridians. almost allowing him to break through to the Tao spirit realm. Fortunately, Qiu Lingfeng's willpower was strong enough and he suppressed it quickly enough, otherwise it would not be impossible to become the Tao spirit realm on the spot. You took off my clothes and you want me to break through? Qiu Lingfeng couldn't help but curse. He tried every means to suppress the spiritual energy in his body, just because he didn't want to condense the Tao seed so quickly. As a result, the spiritual energy left behind by the mysterious woman almost caused him to break through on the spot. Isn't this hurting him or what? At this time, on a distant mountain range. Ah, sneeze, a woman sneezed without warning. Strange, with my level of cultivation, how can I still sneeze? The woman murmured in confusion. Chapter 60 appears again. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After Guo Chen brought the clothes, Qiu Lingfeng put them on. Wait, why are these clothes a little too small? Qiu Lingfeng got dressed and realized something was wrong. This dress looks a little tired. Ahem. Li Minmin only brought a few extra clothes in the camp, so you know. Guo Chen coughed and explained. All right. Qiu Lingfeng's forehead darkened and he nodded. The disciples of Taishan Sword Academy wear the male Lutong style of clothing, and the only difference is probably the size. Although it is a bit too small, it can still be worn by Qiu Lingfeng, who allowed his clothes to be taken off. Qiu Lingfeng sniffed carefully, and there was still a faint scent of flowers and milk on the clothes. Okay, sure enough, Li Minmin's clothes were correct. After returning to the camp with Guo Chen, everyone began to arrange today's tasks. Because there is a lake next to it, there is no need to consider food and water sources. The only thing to solve is accommodation. All morning everyone was busy building shelters. After all, if you want to survive for a month, you need a good place to live. Moreover, there are no powerful monsters around the lake, so it is very safe. In one morning, everyone built the camp to take shape. The strength of warriors is much greater than that of ordinary people, and they must be able to build wooden houses much faster. By the time night falls, a small wooden house has been built. Everyone just gathered around the campfire and ate food. Today is really exhausting. Zhang Hongxing said. There's more to do tomorrow. Qiu Lingfeng couldn't help but strike and said. Now our 5 camps have just started, and there is still a lot to do. Hey, I really don't understand. Can't we hide in a cave for this month like others? We have to torture ourselves like this. Zhang Hongxing said. You can live in a cave if you like. No one will stop you. Just leave this house to us. Guo Chen said. Ahem, I was just joking. Why would I go to a cave if I can live more comfortably? Zhang Hongxing coughed and said, in the next few days, everyone built a camp here. Although there were several attacks by monsters during this period, they were easily solved by Qiu Lingfeng and Guo Chen. After a few days of development, the camp now has 4 houses and is surrounded by walls wrapped with spikes. As for why there are only 4 houses for 5 people, the reason is very simple. Wang Tao and Li Minmin have been together for a long time, and now it is rare for them to have private space. I'm afraid even if I hold a knife to their necks and force them both, I can't even think of separating them. What about that? Ahem, everyone should go to bed early today. Wang Tao coughed awkwardly and said while eating. Guo Chen and Zhang Hongxing both unanimously gave Wang Tao and Li Minmin smiles that men understood. This made Li Minmin blush and lowered her head in embarrassment. As Qiu Lingfeng ate, his mind recalled what happened a few nights ago. That mysterious woman. What is her identity? In the past few days, he had also asked Guo Chen sideways if there were any rumors about the mysterious woman in the Kanglan Mountains, but judging from Guo Chen's reaction, he probably hadn't heard of it either. I can only go back and ask senior sister in detail. Qiu Lingfeng thought in his heart, it's a pity that his communication watch is just an ordinary watch that can only tell time after leaving Jinlan City. Otherwise, he would definitely contact Xi Shaoling. There is no need to worry about the battery of the communication watch. Although it looks small, in fact, a battery can last at least half a year. When the battery runs out, you can replace it when you return to the academy. It costs, points to replace the battery. Ling Feng, what are you thinking about? Zhang Hongxing glanced at Qiu Lingfeng doubtfully and asked. Nothing, I'm thinking about tomorrow's schedule. Qiu Lingfeng shook his head and said, telling Zhang Hongsheng and others directly about the mysterious woman in the lake would inevitably cause panic. Speaking of which, Ling Feng, what happened when your clothes were stripped off a few days ago? Zhang Hongsheng opened the pot and opened it. Qiu Lingfeng's forehead darkened and he said speechlessly. Maybe it was picked up by some naughty rabbit. Rabbits are so delicious. Ah, no, rabbits are so cute. I don't allow you to say bad things about rabbits like that. Li Minmin said from the side. Cough. Looking at Li Minmin, Qiu Lingfeng was still a little embarrassed. After he changed back into his own clothes a few days ago, he wanted to return Li Minmin's clothes, but he was rejected and said to be given directly to him. Speaking of which, surviving here for a month doesn't seem too difficult. Wang Tao took a sip of the hot soup and sighed. Our place is much safer than other places, but it is different for other people. They may be hiding from monsters all day long. Qiu Lingfeng shrugged and said, I don't know if it's because of the existence of that mysterious woman that there are so few magical beasts around here, even the monsters that occasionally appear are of very low level, and he looked very much like he had accidentally barged in, and he kept running away in a panic. There was no intention to attack Qiu Lingfeng and others at first. They only launched a counterattack after discovering that Qiu Lingfeng and others were ready to attack. This place is really weird. All these made Qiu Lingfeng feel that this place was weird, but for the time being, they haven't found anything unusual while living here, so it's fairly safe. That's just right, because we can all spend this month safely. Li Minmin said. Qiu Lingfeng thought for a while and nodded. It's a weird place, but it's safe. Moreover, no one is currently in danger, so staying here is undoubtedly the safest way. Once you leave here, you will never find such a safe place again. As night fell, the bonfires were extinguished and everyone rested. Listening to Wang Tao and Li Minmin's wooden house next door, there was a sound that made people's blood rush. Qiu Lingfeng had no choice but to leave the camp and go out for some air. When he came to the lake, Qiu Lingfeng washed his face. It's really better to be married after a long separation than to start having sex so soon. Qiu Lingfeng looked back at the camp and was quite speechless. But suddenly, Qiu Lingfeng's eyes narrowed. In the distance, I saw a beautiful figure slowly approaching, and that face was the mysterious woman Qiu Lingfeng saw at that time. It's her, she appears again. However, unlike the last time she appeared in the middle of the lake, the woman had obviously just returned from outside, followed by a large group of three-tailed rabbits. The woman apparently also discovered Qiu Lingfeng and waved to Qiu Lingfeng from the other side of the lake.